Hello there, and happy Thanksgiving to those who are observing. I know this is primarily a American-based holiday, but to everybody around the world, I'd like to extend you my thanks for you being here today. I know I typically do awesome gaming news episodes on Fridays when I post them, but considering that it's an optimistic and positive type of show, and I figured it fit very well with the theme of a holiday here in America is about giving thanks and showing appreciation for things that we have. And I'm very thankful for tabletop gaming. I'm very thankful for so many awesome things, and I want to talk about some of them in today's video. If you guys are new here to the channel, love to have you guys stick around. We talk a lot about tabletop games, a lot about fantasy and science fiction based games, little plastic spaceship, little dudes on a map, and even board games and gaming news as well. This is a particular program on this show where we focus on some awesome things that have been going on in the gaming world, and this is a fun way to really keep things on a positive light and keep things in upward spirits, which I think is very important these days to stay focused on awesome, happy, and positive news. Also, we are doing 12 Days of Life Day all throughout December, so make sure you are subscribed and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. That'll enter you to win one of the 12 giveaways. Speaking of giveaways, in our recent Star Trek Into the Unknown video where I did the unboxing, we had a Cisco promo that was going to be giving away. We're going to be announcing the winners, because there's also one that went up on Patreon. Patrons get extra giveaways and things like that. So we'll talk about those at the end of the video. So stay tuned to the end. But that's a totally separate giveaway. You know, we have lots of fun little things like that for 12 Days of Life Day as well. So I want to start off today. Speaking of Star Trek Into the Unknown. This number one question I get every time I make a Star Trek Into the Unknown video is, when is this thing releasing? Well, I have good news for you guys. This is shipping now. Many pre-orders have already started shipping. It seems like WizKids is kind of doing, if you pre-ordered earlier, you're probably shipping sooner, and so they're kind of doing them in I don't want to say as a matter of fact, but it seems like they may be doing them in the order in that they were received, which would kind of makes sense. Retailers are reporting that some of them are starting to actually get street dates. I've heard 11 December. I've heard early December. However, I have also heard some stores saying that they aren't necessarily getting theirs until Q1 2025. But I know WizKids is aiming for an early December release, which again, this should be any day now. So if you are looking to give some of your loved ones some holiday gift ideas, definitely link to the WizKids site. There is also a new site up for Star Trek Into the Unknown, and we'll put a link to it down in the video description below. But there's you can pre-order there, but there's also resources if you wanted to check out both the regular rulebook, the additional rulebook, the campaign guide, and there's a news section over there as new information becomes available. Expansion, a lot of people have been asking about expansion. When are the Klingons coming? When is more stuff coming? There's been a lot of sort of expansion titles that had been sort of soft announced or leaked, and so we know that there's a lot more planned, and some things are in various stages of coming. So I'm sure we'll be getting some updates on those sooner rather than later. So stay tuned to the WizKids Star Trek Into the Unknown site. In other Star Trek Into the Unknown news, some people have asked how our expansion is going to be, and while it's not necessarily indicative of how all expansions will be, there is another Enterprise. Now, this is not specifically a Star Trek Into the Unknown specific pack. This is a Star Trek ship pack from WizKids. So it's kind of a slightly different team there, but it is the USS Enterprise D as a standalone ship pack. So if you wanted to have multiple Galaxy class ships in a build, you could start with this, or you could pick up 2 core sets. There currently aren't any scenarios that currently support multiple large ships, but believe it or not, those are in the works. So if you were thinking about picking up one of these, now This is a ship pack that's targeting collectors primarily, although definitely fans of the game may be interested in this as well. This is going to be shipping in 2025, so this is coming after the core game. But what this is it's another Enterprise D. It does have the base and the pegs in there, and it has a metallic version of the paint job. Now, I haven't seen this one in hand yet. I cannot really comment on how pretty it is, if it's really worth getting. But what I can tell you is that there will not be any all new gaming materials in this pack outside of just it being an extra paint job. So it's not like you're going to get Commander Data or Riker on board this one. And so you don't have to buy this ship so that your Enterprise will be complete in the other game. There are some notable exclusions of Enterprise D crew in the core set, because the core set does focus a little more heavily on the Deep Space Nine timeline. But I have full faith that people like Commander Data and Riker and Geordi LaForge and Beverly Crusher and Wesley Crusher and Tasha Yar and all of these, a lot of our favorites will eventually find their way into Star Trek Into the Unknown. Don't forget, there is also a Sovereign class that could show up. There's also lots of ways to get certain other characters like Barclay into the game, and Tasha Yar, even though she wouldn't necessarily fit on a Sovereign. There's a lot of other options and ways to get those characters in, but this is not something that you have to get. But if you like the Enterprise model, and it is gorgeous, you may want to consider checking this one out to have an extra Enterprise D. Now, other ship packs may not come the same way. They may not be specifically a named ship. They could also do a Galaxy ship pack that doesn't necessarily say Enterprise on it. This way, it's maybe they'll do sticker packs. I know that's one of the things they've talked about on some interviews, talking about wanting to do. So I feel like that's a very distinct possibility. So if you wanted the Odyssey or you wanted the Yamato or something like that, that's one of those things that are definitely have been talked about. Although I won't necessarily confirm that is actually happening, but it seems like it's definitely something that could happen. So again, you don't have to pick this up, but you might want to check it out. I'm really tempted to check this one out. I hope they send one to me, but I don't know if they're going to do that or not. I feel like I might just pre-order this one so I can take a look at it, because it seems pretty cool. Moving on. In the Age of Sigmar for Warhammer, they did just have their World Championships, and there were a lot of previews. And since I happen to be interested in Age of Sigmar, I thought it was pretty interesting, because we've seen a lot of stuff since the last Amazing Gaming News. The Stormcast Eternals, one of the most popular factions in Age of Sigmar, did get their new codex, or rather their rulebook, and they also got several new things. There's been a lot of new Age of Sigmar stuff. The Gloomspite Gits are getting a lot of new stuff. So are the Orcs are getting some faction terrain and endless spells. And then the Darkness forces are getting stuff. There's so a lot of new armies getting some new love, getting new books, getting new models, getting new terrain, and getting new spells. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that was announced at the latest World Championships. And so the cool thing about GW is that it feels like every 3 months or so they're having some kind of big batch of reveals, and the models for these games are just absolutely spectacular, especially Age of Sigmar, which I think you could argue have maybe the greatest models in all of tabletop gaming. I kind of think so. I kind of think that Age of Sigmar is absolutely at the apex of model quality in tabletop gaming. Let me know if you disagree, though, because I could be wrong. Maybe there's some hidden gems that I have missed. I know some people are definitely competing for that top spot. I know the folks over at Monster Fight Club are constantly upping their game, and especially with their cyberpunk miniatures, they are looking better and better all the time. I cannot wait to show off the new vehicles and motorcycles once those start shipping, because some of the sample images I've seen, absolute perfection. But until I have those in hand, I will say that currently Age of Sigmar, absolutely wonderful. So really cool stuff. And if you're into fantasy miniatures games, if you're into fantasy games, GW has a lot to offer between the Lord of the Rings and then Old World. But for me, Age of Sigmar really fits the bill. Very fun game system with 4th edition. Moving on. And a very touching story, because not all amazing gaming news is strictly a new product. Sometimes it's the amazing communities and acts of kindness we show each other, and this is a great time to focus on that. Our friends over at the 82nd Legion shared a video they took at the Chattanooga Comic-Con last month. This was a really touching display where there was a con goer who was blind, and you'd think it can be pretty hard to appreciate tabletop games if you're vision impaired. But a friend of him was kind of guiding him through the board, and I'm going to put a link to this video so you can watch the whole thing. It's a short video, but it's a great act of kindness, showing somebody through touch and being able to guide their hands across the board and feel the terrain, and having somebody explain to them as he was actually able to see what this game was all about. They were playing Star Wars Legion. Now this was I don't believe there were any or many miniatures on the board, so this wasn't like interrupting an existing game. This looked like it was in between rounds. But just I love seeing stories like this where people are helping each other out. People are helping somebody to experience a game that they may not have experienced before. I think that's a beautiful thing. If you have great stories like this, definitely shoot them over to me. I'd love to be able to share amazing stories. And you can check out the 82nd Legion. They do a lot of Star Wars Legion content. We've actually had them on the show before, and I think I've been on their show as well. So they're definitely friends of the channel. Great folks over there. So definitely check them out. Again, cool story. Link in the video description below. More Star Trek news coming from Gale Force 9. Star Trek Ascendancy is going to GameFound in 2025. I believe this is aimed for January. They are re-releasing all of the Star Trek Ascendancy products, plus new stuff as well. There's going to be lots of new little tweaks and things added, extra ship models and things like that. But they're also adding the Gorn Hegemony. They have been doing lots of previews and teasers of the different cards and the different art on the boards and the faction art and a lot of the different technologies and things that they're going to have available in the Gorn Hegemony for Star Trek Ascendancy. And it's cool to see, look, it's really cool to see Star Trek gaming kind of making a comeback right now. It's one of those things where I feel like, I did a video recently about like Star Wars versus Star Trek, and I always love to do those things because I love both of the properties, and they both have their strengths and weaknesses. But one of the things that I think Star Wars for a very long time has had a runaway advantage was with gaming. And I recently, there's been so many Star Trek games coming out, between like the deck building games and then miniatures games, and then of course revamping and coming back of old games, and then relaunching and with new materials and updating and refreshing some very good games, because Star Trek Ascendancy is a very fun game, and so it's very cool to see new life being breathed into old games. It also gives hope for some of us older gamers who have been have games that we have loved that have sort of sunset, that we'd love to see get a little more life breathed into them. I'm talking to you, Star Wars Rebellion. Come on, Fantasy Flight. Let's see another edition of Star Wars Rebellion someday. Maybe there's a chance. Maybe there's a chance. And we also have a giveaway winner to announce today. So our winner for the Benjamin Sisko is going to be That Billman Guy. So go ahead and shoot me an email, thatbillmanguy at mailcrabbok@gmail.com, and we'll get your Benjamin Sisko out to you. Always happy to do that. Also, patron Rafael Batala has also won a second one. We have extras, so we did a little extra Patreon giveaway there. So make sure you shoot me an email and give me your shipping information, and we'll get these out to you just as soon as possible. If you did not win, don't worry. 12 Days of Life Day has plenty more opportunities to win amazing things. I want to hear what you guys think. What are some awesome gaming news stories that I missed in this episode? Share with me down in the description below. And in the spirit of Thanksgiving and giving thanks and being thankful for the things that we have, let me know what you're thankful for down in the video description. I'm thankful for each and every one of you. Thank you so much. And especially my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I can't thank you enough for continuing to support the channel, Happy Thanksgiving. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.